Yeah, well, you're not really a magician.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Well, because you do one trick, that makes you a magician?
Did I trick you?
Curb is such a different kind of experience. I mean, Curb, you go on the audition and you pick a scenario out of a hat, and then you go in the room, and there's like 10 execs there and Larry David, and you just improvise a scene with Larry David. And I basically did it, and then when I got it, they're like, what you said in the audition, what you did in the audition, that's what the scene's gonna be.
Are you going to tell me this trick?
No.
Magicians don't reveal their secrets.
I gotta go.
You guys are a lot alike.
Yeah, except he's not a magician.
I got to know Anton where he was kind of on his own for the first time, but he was still really attached to his parents, really attached to his mother.
We were just hanging out. We didn't talk about our parents. And then his mom was coming into town, and he was so excited. And I was like, are you seriously excited your mom is coming? I start getting like a pre-migraine when my mother's coming into town. I love her, but I need you to write me something.
Room 2117, 5 o'clock.
So did you see yourself as becoming the thinking woman's sex symbol?
You know, it's funny that you should say that.
It's startling in a way. There's something angelic about him and pure about him and open and obviously intelligent, but they're very rare, really.
I mean, I'm still not very confident that I'm good enough, you know? I don't know that I'll ever be confident in that.
You're at the ground floor of a growing business. Your reward is a career.
It was really like just a bunch of friends kind of coming together. And that was where you can really see, really understand his talent on a deeper level, because he led that movie, and it was all complete improv.
It's such a heavy piece of material, but when the camera stopped rolling, it was just voices and dialects and goofy characters.
Good things, Tommy. You promised me. You do good things.
I promise.
He was an absolute one of a kind. With Anton, you just know they broke the mold. There was nothing about him that wasn't wonderful. I remember he was always there, always on the set watching me, and then after a take, he'd come over and ask me questions about it, or when we did a scene afterwards, he didn't go rolling off into his trailer. He wanted it always to be of a piece.
Presenting the Breakthrough Award tonight is his House of D director. Give it up for David Duchovny.
I learned about integrity, artistic integrity, about artistic morality, if that can be said, about honesty. And the only thing that I can fault him for is that, you know, when he worked with Robin Williams, he would always call him Mr. Williams, and he called me David. But Anton, the luckiest thing and the best thing I ever did was put you in my movie. Come here and get this.
Thank you, Mr. Duchovny. It's really great to be here. I'm not really good at taking compliments, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. More than anything, my parents, who are always like, you know, symbols of strength and for me, and have always shown me a lot of love and kindness since I was tiny. You know, thank you.
Dear Mamula and Papua, every day in Tokyo, I think about how terrifying it was for you to come to a country where you did not speak a word of the language with the intention of starting a new life. And I think about how you did it so that I could have a better life, despite what the sacrifice might mean to you. I always worry that I somehow can't express my appreciation, so I try to write these notes expressing that I do think about and appreciate and respect and thank God for you and everything that you have given me. As I write this, I see the trips to Toys R Us, to the zoo. I see the video cameras and all the attention that I got. I wish I could take all of these things and put them together and give them back to you with all the love that you gave me. I love you so much, and I hope you know this. I wish for you to be happy and healthy for another million, billion, trillion years. I wish for us to be able to celebrate all together for all of those happy and healthy years.
I'm so grateful, потому что я знаю, сколько ты, не знаю, мам, я тебя так люблю, ты не знаешь, что ты.
I love you. Love, Antosha.
Don't want him ever to be forgotten.
Our dear, dear son, we wish you all the best life in this. All your hopes, dreams, wishes, praise will come true. Absolutely for sure. Because you deserve it.
I've never, I mean, everybody loves their children, but I don't think anybody really loved their child like they loved Anton.
Victor said to me, let's pretend Anton went for a long, long shoot. He just went to shoot movie. And I said, I can't pretend like this, Victor. Because he would call a million times. It would be not true.
Мамуля, с днем рождения, любимая моя. Дорогая моя, я тебя обожаю, чтобы ты была здорова.
Most guys, you know, that are like 10, 11, and 12, you say to them, okay, dance, they want to run away.
I always dance with my mom at parties and in between my dad dancing with my mom because my parents are ice skaters. So my mom always wants me to dance with her, so I don't say no. So I always dance with my mom.
First time we heard about it, when we went to the doctor, just wondering why Anton has, why it's so hard for him to fight simple cold, why it's taking him so long to get over the cough and things. And the doctor wasn't sure about it, but he said we need to run tests for cystic fibrosis. Finally, we were called in, and the doctor said the results are positive. Anton has cystic fibrosis.
Imagine being born with chronic illness and your parents being told that you're not going to live beyond a certain age without a significant amount of therapies and significant amount of medications to modify how their body functions to maintain their activity. That's a huge burden to bear.
The doctors were saying the symptoms of this disease are shortness of breath, wheezing, low energy. He's going to start coughing more.
One of the hardest things with CF is they don't look sick, but they're battling all the time.
Numerous times a day, he'd have to be hooked up to a breathing machine that he'd, would have to literally just pounce against his lungs and cough up mucus, and then have to go outside and put on a smile, and through that also wanted to keep that inside and not tell anyone.
Call times usually bright and early. He had to do his breathing exercise like 2 hours before just to get himself prepared to start the day. Nobody knew that but Anton. Nobody knew that. People are finding out right now, actually. This is insane.
I had arranged to meet with Anton. I think Irina drove him over and dropped him off, and we sat down. And I said, so, why do you want to play Charlie Bartlett? What is it you like about the character of the movie? And the first thing he said is, I like how honest he is and how he wants to do things for his friends.
He wants to take care of people.
I have a small growth in one of the ventricles of my brain. To date, I've had 4 brain surgeries. Anton was one of the very, very few people that knew that about me. He would always be very concerned. He knew instantly when things weren't right. Because of him and because of our friendship, that I was able to be a bit more accepting of the circumstances I was in.
If you can explain what you're doing, or better yet, why you're doing it, that'd be a good start.
Look, I'm helping these kids, okay? Nobody else is listening to them.
Charlie could be the loneliest of people, but he chooses not to be. It's the intelligence of his decisions, and as a result, his responsibilities and the consequence of these that shape his character.
He was always kind of observing people and their behavior, and he took that into his work a lot too, because he'd be able to take different characters, and he loved stories. He loved human stories.
Charlie's an optimist. People are depending on him.
He had so much love for the people that were close to him in his life. I lost my dad when I was 13, and he was like there for me, you know.
The funny thing is, like, I would use my disease to, like, you know, to help me out occasionally, like to bail me out. And this guy was so selfless that he, like, you know, was able to keep such a serious thing secret.
Anton was great at what he did, but he was kind of worried that because of his condition, he maybe wouldn't be able to work.
Now, you're not going to get away from this interview without my asking you about Star Trek. And I'm sorry, I apologize right now. It's part of the deal. You're in the new Star Trek movie directed by J.J. Abrams, and the whole world is curious about it, and that includes me. So you're playing the young Chekhov?
Right, Pavel Chekhov, right.
On the first Star Trek, we said we wanted to clone little Antons and give them away as wrap gifts. Just tiny pet Antons that
I think it was just the kind of joy and the kind of happiness and optimism he sort of encapsulates. And of course, you know, the fun of playing around with that great accent.
The character of Chekhov in Star Trek speaks a kind of Russian that doesn't really exist.
They're creating a singularity that will consume the planet.
And it was actually really hard for Anton at the beginning to speak Russian badly.
He couldn't. He went to my father, and I said, well, ask JJ, is my accent is good? And he said, Mom, no. When he was business, he was saying, Mom, your accent is not good for this. I need grandpa accent.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Sorry,
Mr. Chekhov, what is it?
Based on the narrative discourse from Yelchin.
I remember being with him on set and doing a classic J.J. Abrams sort of 19-hour day. And he looked so tired. I remember he was trying to say this very complicated speech about dropping out of warp and hiding behind Saturn. And his little eyes were so sort of red. He never looked younger to me than on that day.
If we adjust our shield frequencies, we should not be detected.
Wait a minute, kid. How old are you?
17, sir.
I can certainly say for the group of people that got to work with him, he might have been the youngest person on camera, but he was, I think, the person that sort of quietly, without even realizing it, I think, you know, challenging all of us to be as good as he was.
It's an interesting line to follow because you pick and choose and you see what you can bring that's your own. And then I met with Walter Koenig and we had this talk and he said, you know, it looks like you guys are being really smart about this and doing your own thing. And yet, you know, I see traces of myself in what you're doing. And it was really great for me to hear that because I was so nervous about meeting him. And he seemed so pleased.
Here we are, we're all coming together to revamp this old franchise that had moved people for so long. And Anton was the youngest one in the cast. And his angle about like, oh, we have to do this right, and if not, people will be unhappy. We're talking about peace, it was about friendship, it was about ending war. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this kid is so deep. I gotta get myself in shape.
I play guitar and Anton played incredible guitar, and so, you know, we'd inevitably kind of bring our guitars to set. And tool around and Anton and all of his frustrating humility. He never wanted to pat himself on the back, it seemed like. He'd say, well, I don't really know, how to play all that much. And then he'd like whip out some like Mississippi John Hurt or something that was just like, I've just been playing this for a little bit.
He really knew what he was talking about, no matter what it was, and there was some real beauty in that.
We went back to some, shooting on set, and then going back to the trailers. And I said, "You want to come in and jam?" He's like, "No, I gotta go back to." It turns out he's translating this Russian novel that's like this big, Russian philosophy tract. He's like making notes on this thing and translating it at the same time. He's, mind you, 17 years old.
It was so funny. He didn't consider himself a musician, and he didn't consider himself a singer. And he was a damn great musician, but he was a little bit, I think, self-conscious. He always wanted to be the best at what he did.
I did that episode of ER. It was a very heavy episode, and it was the first time I had to cry for anything. And I just wept and wept and wept, and I couldn't stop crying after they cut. And it was weirdly cathartic and kind of awesome, but very painful at the same time. Like, my mom was really freaked out.
Yeah. How are you in school? Good in school?
Good. All A's except in gym.
In gym?
Yeah.
You're a child after my own heart, I have to say. But your parents are athletes.
Yeah, so I think that's enough in our family.
Yeah.
When Anton was 8 years old, because I know exactly when I was very sick, and he would come, and every day, dear mommy, I love you. I wish for you to feel million, trillion, billion times better tomorrow. Dear mommy, I love you so very much. I adore you. I wish for you to feel billion, trillion times better tomorrow. And that was like 20. Those type of cards, he would just slip under the door or kiss me and do that. And then when I got good already, I was already went to work, he would just write, dear mommy, I love you, love Antosha. Dear mommy, I love you, love Antosha. Just like this. This is like, that's a treasure. It's no gifts better than those.
I'm very fortunate because my mom, she was teaching all the time. She still choreographs, but she would literally, like, in her skating suit, take me to auditions after work, and she just believed that this is what I loved. So I owe her everything, really, just for believing in me,
He would look down his feet for the first 6 months, I would say. Wouldn't look up. He'd get very scared. And all we had to do was instill self-imagination, self-esteem for the first 6 months. And then a light bulb went on.
73 years ago, there once lived a man, and his name was Mr. Picanus. He was the greatest artist ever. He painted Picasso sometimes, even could be like him.
We did a lot of improv. Like, we would do things like where he would give us an assignment to come home and make something. And I actually enjoyed those moments more than I did where we had to learn scenes. And because at the time, scenes were just lines to me. They weren't really characters. Whereas these things were, I could just create stuff, kind of like I did at home.
He spoke Russian and English. Anton was like a sponge. Whatever you told him, he could remember like forever.
Chris Carr said to me, he doesn't need class. You know what? He truly needs to go for auditions. And I said, what kind of auditions? I'm working full time. I can't do it. And he said, do you have an agent? I said, no, and we don't want any agent. We're just here for fun. Then he said, it's an audition without no agents. Just go. Let's get the book, How to Play Guitar. And he started playing guitar so good.
This blues for you, Mom. Mommy, I love you so, Mommy. Oh, Mommy, I love you a lot. So beautiful, Mom. So beautiful, Mom.
I never met anyone quite like him in the sense that there were these sort of classic childlike qualities about him and very old qualities, and they just coexisted. That is, he had a curiosity that with most people degrades over time.
Love you, baby.
But not with him.
Thank you, Mr. Duchovny. It's really great to be here. I'm not really good at taking compliments, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. More than anything, my parents, who are always like, symbols of strength and for me, and have always shown me a lot of love and kindness since I was tiny. Thank you.
Dear Mamula, you are my best friend, the closest person to me in the world, and the most amazing woman that I know. Your soul, through your beautiful eyes, shines. It does not matter whether you are laughing or yelling, regardless of whether I'm smart enough to show it. I always, always, always have so much respect for who you are. For how strong, smart, wonderful, talented, interesting, intelligent, and just how, your least favorite word, cool you are. Thank you for every hug, kiss, smile, and every bowl of soup. You are an extraordinary, charming woman, and you have an equally extraordinary husband, and a son that is your baby, as long as he lives. Love, Antosha.
I remember I was a little intimidated by Irina, just a little bit. We were maybe 11 or 12, and we'd be looking at something on the internet, something inappropriate or whatever, and then, we'd hear from downstairs, Antosha! And he'd yell back, "Что?" What? That's when our hormones just started kicking in. So we were just totally girl crazy.
You will, and it will be the kiss by which all others in your life will be judged.
Dear Journal, today I have my first kiss. This was my first kiss with Mika. It was okay. I kind of liked it. It was very nice. And I did it twice. I hope it happens many more times.
I said, Anton, what you've got to do is wait for the good scripts, the thing that's going to launch you to the next step. And he said to me, no, I want to do everything. I said, no, you can't do everything, because there's a lot of junk out there. You don't want to be part of it. No, I want to do everything. I don't care. I want to act.
Anton, where he was kind of on his own for the first time, but he was still really attached to his parents, really attached to his mother.
Sure, so we were just hanging out. We didn't talk about our parents. And then his mom was coming into town, and he was so excited. And I was like, are you seriously excited your mom is coming? I start getting a pre-migraine when my mother's coming into town. I love her, but I need you to write me something.
Everybody was away from their families, so something very beautiful happened where we all just sort of came together.
He surprised me every time he spoke about something. I thought, what a bright, intelligent human being.
Anton and me and Sophia every weekend would be out on the sailboat in the harbor in Vancouver.
It was so particular and so interesting.
I have this great picture of me on the boat. I'm falling asleep on Anton's lap. And Anton's with his sweatshirt, and I can tell he's God damn, I've probably been asleep for an hour on his lap, but he doesn't want to move me. It's really cute. I got that one.
There is this thing, you pretend to be a family over a number of years, and at some point you kind of are.
I wanted to set it in a cemetery. So we were walking around the cemetery and we were having this conversation, we were doing the scene, and then in the middle of the scene, Anton was just like, I don't want to be here.
I don't know, I don't like walking people's graves.
No, people's graves. This is the bit in between the graves.
No, I don't like this.
And Felicity's trying to do the scene, and we're shooting, and she's like, oh no, let's stay, let's talk, let's sit down. And he's like, no, I gotta go, I gotta go.
This is freaking me out.
Why?
I don't know.
I forgot about it, and then
After watching it, I was like, oh my God, he was so in tune to this frequency. He had this radar for energy and for feeling and stuff. And he was just in touch with that side of the universe in a way.
He was getting very worried about himself because he started reading blogs, CF blogs. He started reading other people with CF and felt very disturbed.
Hi, Mary. I've been feeling up and down. Increased airway clearance right now to 4 times a day. My folks have been doing the percussion on my side and my back 1 to 2 times a day. I've been exercising a minimum of 45 minutes a day. Gotta get it into this idiot brain of mine that I have to fight this thing. Had a really heavy feeling night a few days back where I looked up CF on Instagram and I saw the kids that are fighting so hard and proud to do it, calling themselves fighters. And I was really moved. I've always wanted to shy away from feeling proud that I fight this thing all the time, so I've avoided fighting it. But I gotta be proud, and I gotta tell myself that most people never have to deal with this sort of stuff, and I should be proud of myself that I man up and do, as long as I actually man up and do. And if I don't, that's a crime against the potentiality and against all those that do. Anyway, ranting. Thank you again for all your help. Speak soon, Anton.
You know, on the back of the hat, it was these words, incurable, life-threatening disease. I was worried for him every single minute. And I felt so bad for him that he had to do all this. Why my son has to do it? And then he would look at me and he'd say, Mamuля, please do not worry. It's okay, I can handle it. Trust me.
Also a director that loves improv, and the idea of someone suffering, doing something that is unfair to people that they really care about is something that sort of transcends that format as a kind of human experience.
I told him he has to be always on alert. This illness in there, and you have to be careful. Just because he was not a Superman, he wants to do something, and sometimes he did, which he shouldn't.
We're doing this 9-day sequence of vampires on fires, and I'm like, is it safe for Anton to be on fire? And they're like, yeah, it's safe. And I'm like, okay. Suddenly the studio calls, what the hell are you guys doing? Burning a lead actor.
Because of what he went through his whole life with his disease, it's why he wanted to get a lot done. He didn't want to let it take him down, you know? Like he would talk about it with me like there was this beast inside of him, you know?
Excuse me. I finished 2 films over the summer. And I'm starting work on another film, and then there might be another, an improvised film.
He was always going further than the rest of us. What he was thinking about, what he was looking at, what he was interested in, what was the next project. He had this immigrant mentality to a point that I think that he needed to work rather than sit still in the confidence of his talent. I don't think he gave himself much of a break.
He'd go to very risky projects, and then he'd do something that was more like a job. He was so intense about his quest to really find situations that would challenge him. He was very practical, he was very pragmatic about career stuff, but at the same time, he deeply felt a duty to educate himself and to challenge himself.
Anton and I became friends. We would probably spend 3, 4, 5 hours together talking about life. He was an old soul, you know, and I, don't talk in terms of old souls and stuff like that. But I found myself treating him as a contemporary. I remember he had no desire to be like the flavor of the month.
Just really did not. He looked skinnier than usual. He was coughing a lot more. Just we were all worried about him. He was scared. I saw him scared. I felt him scared.
Remember he said, oh God, I gotta start taking better care of my health. He didn't want to worry his mother, you know?
Mamula, how are you? I miss you. I've been going non-stop in a way since I left for Dubai, so it's starting to catch up with me. Paris is beautiful as always, but I miss LA. Paris is pretty, but it is not home.
He was sometimes so tired fighting it that he probably was skipping breathing exercises and stuff.
Aside from all the things he was reading for work to studying old movies, he started playing with us regularly whenever he was in town. I mean, the guy, he loved expressing himself, but he always felt like he needed to work harder.
We would play a midnight show at the Viper Room on Sundays, and it would be from like 11 to 1 a.m. And we wouldn't necessarily invite anybody, we just did it. It was just another creative outlet that he could do.
I'm gonna have to jump up and perform some tricks in a couple hours, but can barely keep my head on, my legs from twitching and my head from cramping.
It always amazed me how he was able to find time to take care of his own health. He would say, "It's what I love, and I'm not gonna let CF stop me from doing what I love."
He added tons of exercises himself, and I was so happy when he wants to build muscles and be stronger than he was.
I mean, his abs, they almost clanked. It was like a conquistador's suit of armor under there.
And then he'd take his shirt off and he was like this jacked dude. And you're like, what? Where's that been? And he's like, just from coughing so much. And I was like, oh, probably.
Have you completely lost your mind?
Well, I know it seems a bit...
I'm not talking to you, nut job. I'm talking to Mom. It takes you years to get him out of here, and you let him come back the next night with a talking hamster?
He did a lot of thinking and a lot of writing, and sometimes his thinking got in his way, you know? It's almost like his brain was too big and he couldn't contain all of his ideas.
We met at Subway, and we sat for like 3 hours just talking. Kind of went from 0 to 100 and stayed there for a long time.
Sophie was only serious girlfriend, nicest girl, and they were young, and she was not patient enough. And for him, films was priority.
Very serious for both of us, and pretty much broke up because we were just too young, unfortunately.
He hit me up after he had his heart broken and was like, hey, can we like talk? I just kind of figured out like what that actually feels like, and I'm so sorry. And I was like, dude, it's fine. Like literally we were tiny children. But for someone to call someone and be like, hey, that thing that you went through, I had no idea, but now I do, and I'm so sorry. I was like, dude, it's fine. Like,
I was 14 when I worked with him, but then yeah, he and I were really good friends for like 2 years. And then he kind of like broke my heart. I was so kind of baffled by how good he was in working with him. And then subsequently just like couldn't be around him.
Actor after friends found him pinned between his 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee and a fence at his home.
Here's a guy who struggled with his lungs for as long as I knew him. And he's pinned so he can't breathe. Like, out of all fucking things, that's it? And you go to the house and you look at the gate and you're like, this little thing right here caught the last moments of my friend, this little spot in the universe.
You can't take away him from us. You can't take him away from me, and you can't fucking do this.
I don't want him ever to be forgotten.
Our dear, dear son, we wish you all the best life in this. All your hopes, dreams, wishes, praise will come true. Absolutely for sure. Because you deserve it.
I've never, I mean, everybody loves their children, but I don't think anybody really loved their child like they loved Anton.
Victor said to me, let's pretend Anton went for a long, long shoot. He just went to shoot movie. And I said, I can't pretend like this, Victor. Because he would call a million times. It would be not true.
Мамуля, с днем рождения, любимая моя. Дорогая моя, я тебя обожаю, чтобы ты была здорова. Well, mommy, I played the blues for you. Mom, baby, just like I used to. It's a long time coming, but it's finally here. Mom, baby, won't you hear? Mommy, I played the blues for you. Mommy, I played the blues with you. Well, Mom, baby, tell you how much I love you. Well, it's a long time coming, but it's finally here. Mom, baby, won't you near? Mommy, I sang the blues for you.
Dear Mamula and Papua, every day in Tokyo, I think about how terrifying it was for you to come to a country where you did not speak a word of the language with the intention of starting a new life. And I think about how you did it so that I could have a better life, despite what the sacrifice might mean to you. I always worry that I somehow can't express my appreciation, so I try to write these notes expressing that I do think about and appreciate and respect and thank God for you and everything that you have given me. As I write this, I see the trips to Toys R Us, to the zoo. I see the video cameras and all the attention that I got. I wish I could take all of these things and put them together and give them back to you with all the love that you gave me. I love you so much. I wish for us to be able to celebrate all together for all of those happy and healthy years.
I'm so grateful, потому что я знаю, сколько... А не знаю, мам, я тебя так люблю, любимая. Знаешь,
I love you. Love, Antosha.